10 African presidents who became president by a coup. Due to poor leadership and democracy in Africa, most African leaders get to power by coup. In this video, we'll be looking at these African presidents who got to power by a coup and how successful the coup was. Stay till the end of this video if you really want to know who are these presidents. Before we get into the list, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our videos whenever we upload. 1. Assimi Goïta, Mali. Colonel Assimi Goïta is a Malian military officer who took power by a coup and became interim president of Mali since May 28, 2021. On May 24, 2021, Goïta was involved in the Malian coup d'etat, after which he seized power. President Ndaw and Prime Minister Moctar Ouane were detained. Goïta claimed that Ndaw was attempting to sabotage the transition to democracy and committed to elections in 2022. The coup was instigated by Assimi Goïta, claiming that Ndaw, the former president, failed to consult him about a cabinet reshuffle. It was alleged that one of the motives for the latest coup, which led to Assimi Goïta being president, was due to the removal of Colonel Sadio Camara as defense minister. Camara was appointed again as defense minister by Goïta upon taking over again. Number 2. Michel Djotodia, Central African Republic. A Soviet-trained civil servant who turned into a rebel commander, Michel Djotodia fulfilled his long-held ambition of becoming leader of the Central African Republic when he overthrew President François Bozizé in March 2013. One of Michel Djotodia's aims was to revenge against Christians since he was a Muslim. Central African Republic is mostly made up of Christians. The minority, which happens to be Muslims, believe they are being maltreated and ignored by the government. Michel Djotodia, often seen wearing a turban, became Central African Republic's first Muslim ruler, plunging the country into a religious conflict between the Muslim minority and Christian majority. Michel Djotodia resigned and left for exile in Benin in January 2014, after the whole Transitional Assembly of the Central African Republic attended a meeting in Chad organized by regional leaders to try to stop the violence. The Seleka rebel group that helped Djotodia come to power had been formally disbanded, but its members had continued to engage in a deadly cycle of assaults and counterattacks with Christian militias known as anti-Balaka. Seleka combatants have a strong sense of communal identity and a desire to take vengeance on the former Central African Republic regimes and those who benefited from them, who were recognized as Christians, despite having nominal tendencies toward political Islam. 3. Mamadi Doumbouya, Guinea. Since October 1, 2022, Mamadi Doumbouya, a military commander from Guinea, has been acting as interim president of Guinea. On September 5, 2021, Doumbouya organized a coup d'etat that resulted in the removal of Alpha Condé as president. Former French legionnaire Mamadi Doumbouya was a member of the Guinean Special Forces Group. Doumbouya said on state television the day of the coup that his faction had overthrown the government and constitution in a broadcast. Doumbouya was sworn in as the interim president on October 1st, 2021. Announcing the coup on 5th September, the 41-year-old former French legionnaire said the army had little choice but to seize power because of the rampant corruption, disregard for human rights, and economic mismanagement under the 83-year-old president Alpha Condé. Colonel Doumbouya's takeover means that he's currently the second youngest leader of an African state. Only Mali's Colonel Assimi Goïta, who has been in power since staging a coup in May, is younger, having been born in 1983. 4. Blaise Compaore, Burkina Faso. Former politician Blaise Compaore, born on 3rd February 1951, was the second president of Burkina Faso from 1987 until 2014. In the 80s, he worked closely with Thomas Sankara, the country's first president, and in October 1987, he commanded the coup that resulted in Sankara's death. He then instituted the campaign of rectification, repudiating Sankara's Marxist and Third Worldist positions. He was elected in 1991, 1998, 2005 and 2010 under circumstances that were deemed unjust. The 2014 Burkina Bay insurrection was brought on by his intention to change the constitution to extend his 27-year reign. Compaore resigned on October 31, 2014, at which point he left for the Ivory Coast. 5. Jean-Bedel Bokassa, Central African Republic. Bokassa and his officers staged the Saint-Sylvestre coup d'etat on December 31st and January 1st, 1966 to overthrow President David Daco's administration. By 1965, the nation was in disarray, with weak economic growth and rampant corruption, and insurgents from nearby nations were breaching its boundaries. Daco, the president at that time who happened to be the cousin of Bokassa, obtained financial aid from the People's Republic of China. But despite this support, the country's problems persisted. Bokassa made plans to take over the government. Daco was made aware of this and attempted to counter by forming the Gendarmerie, headed by Jean Izamo, who quickly became Daco's closest advisor. On New Year's Eve of 1965, Bokassa began the coup with the help of Captain Alexandre Banza. Jean Izamo was first taken prisoner by Bokassa and his troops, who imprisoned him in a cellar in Kanduru. After defeating the Gendarmerie and other resistance, Bokassa's soldiers took control of Bangui, the nation's capital. Daco returned to the city after midnight, where he was quickly detained, compelled to resign from his position, and subsequently imprisoned at Kinshasa. Official reports state that 8 persons died in the takeover. This is how Jean-Bedel Bokassa became president of the Central African Republic at that time. 6. Pierre Buyoya, Burundi. Pierre Buyoya was a Burundian army officer and politician who served 2 terms as president of Burundi, from 1987 to 1993 and from 1996 to 2003 as de facto military dictator. He was the second longest serving president in Burundian history. Buyoya joined the sole legal party, UPRONA, and quickly rose through the ranks of the Burundian military. In 1987, he led a military coup d'etat that overthrew his predecessor, Jean-Baptiste Bagaza, and enabled him to seize power. Hutu uprisings in 1988 under the control of an authoritarian military dictatorship resulted in the deaths of an estimated 20,000 people. The National Reconciliation Commission was then founded by Buyoya, and it produced a new constitution in 1992 that supported both a multi-party system and a non-ethnic governance. He ran for president of Burundi in 1993, but Hutu candidate Melchior Ndadaye of the Frodebo opposition party defeated him. After only 3 months in office, Ndadaye was assassinated during another coup attempt, sparking a string of retaliatory assassinations that ended in the Burundian Civil War. In a further coup in 1996, Buyoya regained control of the government during the war. He partnered with Frobedu to construct an ethnically diverse government during his second term as president. The 2000 Arusha Accords, which established ethnic power sharing, resulted from this. He selected Domitien Ndayizeye, a Hutu, as his vice president, who succeeded him as president in 2003. The war ended 2 years later. Following the end of the war, Buyoya became a senator for life under the terms of the 2004 constitution. 7. Samuel K. Doe, Liberia. Political figure Samuel Canyon Doe led Liberia as its 21st president from 1980 to 1990. Between 1980 and 84, Samuel Doe presided over Liberia as chairman of the People's Redemption Council. And from 1985 to 1990, he served as president. When Samuel Doe arranged the bloody coup d'etat in 1980 that toppled President William Tolbert and the True Whig Party, he was a master sergeant in the armed forces of Liberia. As a result, Samuel Doe became the country's first known Americo-Liberian leader who put an end to 133 years of Americo-Liberian rule. Samuel Doe elevated himself to the title of general, suspended the Liberian constitution, and created the People's Redemption Council as an interim military administration, with himself as its de facto leader. In an effort to legitimize his rule, Samuel Doe disbanded the People's Redemption Council in 1984 and won the main election for president in 1985, despite there being indications of election fraud. Samuel Doe made Liberian ports accessible to ships from Canada, China, and Europe, attracting significant international investment and establishing Liberia's reputation as a tax port. Due to his anti-Soviet attitude during the Cold War, Samuel Doe had backing from the US. Dictatorship, corruption, and his favoring of the Kran ethnic group were features of Samuel Doe's presidency, which sparked growing dissatisfaction among the Liberian people and Americans with his administration. 8. Daouda Malam Wanke, Niger. Niger had a military and political leader named Daouda Malam Wanke. He belonged to the Hausa ethnic group. The year of Wanke's birth is contested. While some sources state 1954, others state 1946. He was born in Yelu, a town near Niger's capital, Niamey. He entered the Niger military, rising to the rank of a major. On April 9, 1999, Wanke led a military coup in which President Ibrahim Bari Mai Nassara, who himself had come to power by a military coup, was assassinated. Niger had significant political disturbance for 2 days as the Prime Minister, Ibrahim Hassan Mayaki, and a number of other candidates fought for the presidency. Wanke took office as president on April 11, 1999, leading a transitional administration that announced it would hold elections later in the year. In December 1999, the Wanke administration delivered on its promise and handed over control to Mamadou Tanja, who had just been elected president. Following that, Wanke experienced a number of health issues, including heart issues and high blood pressure. He visited Libya, Morocco, and Switzerland for medical care during the later months of his life and later perished in Niamey. 9. Valentine Stresser, Sierra Leone. Former military commander Valentine Isagrabo Melvin Stresser ruled over Sierra Leone as president from 1992 to 1996. He was formerly a junior military officer before becoming the youngest head of state in history in 1992, taking office 3 days after turning 25 years old. In the 1992 coup d'etat in Sierra Leone, he was the leader of a squad of 6 young soldiers who deposed President Joseph Saïdou Momo. They constituted the National Provisional Ruling Council, a military assembly. After almost 4 years in office, Brigadier General Julius Maada Bio, Stresser's deputy, staged a second military revolution that toppled Stresser in January 1996. Only 2 heads of state of Sierra Leone were born after the country gained its independence, and Stresser is the first. He is also the second head of state from the Creole ethnic group in Sierra Leone. Stresser was born and raised in the Creole neighborhood of Allentown in the eastern part of the capital city of Sierra Leone, Freetown. At the age of 18, shortly after completing his secondary education, he registered in the Republic of Sierra Leone Military Forces. 10. Houari Boumediene, Algeria. Houari Boumediene was a politician and army colonel from Algeria who ruled over the country's second presidential administration from 19 June 1965 to 12 December 1976 as president before passing away in 1978. He was raised in Guelma and went to school in Constantine at the Islamic Institute. In 1955, he joined in the National Liberation Front and used the name Henri Boumediene. In 1960, he was promoted to colonel and appointed military wing commander. In 1961, he was named Minister of Defense by President Ahmed Ben Bella. Ben Bella's reforms did not sit well with him, and in June 1965, he was overthrown in a bloodless coup. He did away with the constitution and the parliament, and he led the new 27-person Revolutionary Council, which took over as the state governing body. The majority of the council's members were from the military. Despite a group of military officers attempting to topple him in 1967, he gained more power after initially having little influence. In 1971, the oil industry was nationalized. The gradual reinstallation of parliamentarism and civil institutions in Algeria began in the 70s. When the new constitution was adopted in 1976, this process came to an end. Boumediene assumed the presidency after the president's post was restored. Since 1978, Boumediene has made fewer public appearances. After failing to receive therapy from Waldenstrom's macroglobulinemia, a rare disease, he passed away on December 27, 1978. Chadli Benjedid, a compromise choice between left and right-leaning military officers, succeeded him as president. Thanks for watching up until the end. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comment section below. Make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and like this video. Also, do not forget to share with your friends.